Hello, my name is Matt Anderson, and today my presentation is on soldering. If you ever had an electrical appliance have a faulty wire break in half or something like that, or an electrical connection come apart, well, instead of throwing it out and buying a new one, I have a simple solution. It's called soldering. To be able to repair something like that, all you're going to need is a simple $20 kit that you can purchase at places such as Lowe's, Home Depot, and Walmart. The kit comes with a soldering iron, some rosin flux solder, and you can buy electrical tape and wire strippers separately. Altogether, you're going to pay pretty much around $30. So say you have your wire that's been cut in half. I've got my webcam here so you can be able to see it a little bit closer. So you've got your wires that are cut in half. You're going to take your wire strippers and strip them about a half an inch down the wire, just so you have enough of the copper conductors inside of it exposed, so you can make a good electrical connection by twisting them together. So you're going to go ahead and strip the insulation off using the correct gauge, and then twist the conductors together like so. You're going to do the same on the other side. Twist this one together as well. So it looks like that. You can see the conductors are all twisted together, so none of them are frayed or anything like that. Then you're going to take the two wires and you're going to twist them together, making sure you get a good electrical connection, because all the solder is really going to do is make sure they hold together kind of like a glue. It is going to allow for some electrical current to pass through, but not a lot. So you want to make sure that you have a good connection between the two copper conductors from inside the wires, just like that. The next thing you'll do is you'll take your soldering iron, and before you start soldering, you want to do what's called tinning the tip. You take a little bit of your solder and you put it right onto the tip of the soldering iron. This is going to make sure that the soldering iron has no oxidation or anything on it, to make sure that the solder is going to flow nice and smoothly throughout it. You want to make sure that you don't have a lot of buildup either on the soldering iron. So you can use just a paper plate or something like that. Like, as you can see, I have a little bit of excess solder on my tip, so you can take it and you can actually just flick it off onto a plate, or you can use a wet sponge to wipe it onto. So once you get all your excess solder off, you're going to take your wire, and using a soldering stand or something like that to make sure that you're not going to melt it as you're soldering the wires together, you're going to take your soldering iron and not touching the solder, but actually touching the wire to heat the wire up enough to get the solder to bleed through. You're going to hold the soldering iron underneath your wires. I'll turn it so the camera can see it. You're going to touch where you have the two wires braided together. It's falling away from me. Heat up the wire, and then push the solder throughout the wire. Making sure you get all the copper that's exposed. Alright, and then we'll let that cool off for a little bit, because it's about 800 degrees from the soldering iron. And once it's all cooled off and everything like that, you can just go ahead and give it a good check. Make sure you have a good connection all the way around. And give it a tug test, twist it around a little bit, make sure if there's any play in it. You're going to have to solder it again to make sure that it's all the way through, so nothing is loose anymore. So the next thing you want to do is you want to insulate it, so then you won't have any corrosion or anything like that. No outside weathering or anything like that can affect the wire later on. So using electrical tape, which is providing a good insulation and everything like that. You don't want to use duct tape or packing tape or something like that. Electrical tape is obviously the most recommended product to use for it. So using electrical tape, just about a 1 layer thick over the whole part that you just soldered in, about a 1/2 inch on either side of it as well. This is a new roll, so it's fighting with me. Alright, so take it and just simply wrap it around where you have the wires exposed. Make it as nice and neat as you want. I usually try and get it nice and tight so there's hardly any bumps, so if someone's looking at it, it looks a little bit more professional than a sloppy job that was done at home. You can just rip it, or you can cut it off with a pair of scissors or something like that. So once you get it done, you can kind of push the tape down to make it a little bit smoother, and you come out with something like that. So once you get that all done, you should pretty much have a good electrical connection. You can go ahead and test it. Once it's all taped up, I would say that you're safe to test it. You don't have to worry about electrical shock or anything like that. Once you get it soldered with the wires still exposed, I would suggest taping it just in case from electrical shock and all of that stuff. But yeah, like I said before, this is a really good, easy, productive way. It's a really good skill to learn as far as just fixing anything around the house. Altogether, you're going to pay about $30, but this set will last me for a pretty long time. You can see how much solder I have inside of this tube. It's just a simple, small strand all the way through. So I would say this is going to last me about 2-3 years, and I tend to fix a lot of stuff and rewire a lot of stuff in my house. So I would say on average, just between everything that could break that's possible to fix with just a simple kit, I would say this could last up to at least 5 to 10 years, and it obviously doesn't expire or anything like that. So a simple, easy fix for products around the house. Investing into a soldering iron with a soldering stand, some electrical tape, wire strippers, and obviously the solder that comes with the kit would be a really good investment and a really good just skill to have around the house. So that is my presentation on soldering.